The fourth Mantis Lord, the Traitor, allowed the infection to take hold because he wanted to be more powerful. Did it work? Was it worth it? Well, maybe. This fight is much tougher than the Mantis Lord's purely on account of his ability to do 2 damage with some attacks. But damage isn't everything, so what of those attacks? He has the Dash and Slash, the Dive Slash, the Double Whirl, the Shockwave, and Walking Forwards. As evidenced by the black barrier we had to shadow dash through to get into this room, the Traitor Lord was essentially built from the ground up to be a test of our Shade Cloak in combat. As such, literally all 5 of these attacks can be quite reliably dodged with it. And his attacks are usually spaced out well enough that you have time to recharge it between them all. I do say usually though, and since he does double damage with the dash and dive slashes, the consequences for being caught out while it's still on cooldown are heavy. That aside, if you spend this fight just shade cloaking through his attacks, it's gonna take a lot longer. So, with that in mind, the dash and slash can be shade cloaked through effectively, but I'd only fall back on that as a sort of panic button. Otherwise, jump over him and land a nail pogo as he goes. The dive slash is kind of funny. If you're in his face slashing away, which by the way you probably should be, then this attack will sail right over your head without you having to move even a little bit. So basically, the catch with this fight is that you can dodge the dash and slash by jumping, and the dive slash by not moving. So all you need to do is make sure you know the different windups for the 2 attacks. If you misjudge or react too slow or whatever, then you can shadow dash through to save yourself. But if you do get the hang of telling them apart, you can let loose with much more damage. Since we don't even have to move to dodge the dive slash, we can respond with an Abyss Shriek and really rack up the damage, with plenty of time to dodge his next attack. The Double Whirl isn't much worth worrying about. He'll basically only use this attack if you get far enough away from him. But as long as you're far from him, the projectiles are extremely easy to dodge, so good job, Traitor Lord. You played yourself. The Shockwave is an interesting one. Only used once the Traitor Lord gets below 500 HP, it's an attack which leaves no safe spots in the entire arena. The only way to dodge this attack is with invincibility frames, but obviously we have those in spades with our Shade Cloak dash. This attack also does 2 damage, so if you do happen to get caught unawares by it and your Shade Cloak is on cooldown, it's definitely worth using the Soul for a Descending Dark, even if you don't deal any damage. Walking Forwards is his only real threat to us, but I'm confident in saying that his AI only tells him to do this to close distance, not when he's already right next to the knight. He does still occasionally do it while right next to the knight, which can result in some cheap damage, but this is rare enough that I don't think it's necessary to account for in your approach to this fight. Speaking of, beating the Traitor Lord is all just a matter of one thing. Don't bother trying to heal. This is what ultimately makes the fight so tough. He attacks quickly, relentlessly, and aggressively. He can't be staggered, so without a lot of charms dedicated to it, you won't be healing off the damage he does. But he is extremely easy to dodge with pretty simple movements. So we're gonna bury ourselves right up next to him and do our best to do as much damage as fast as possible. As I said before, Shade Cloak makes for a good panic button and can compensate if you make a mistake, but it shouldn't be your plan A for dodging anything besides Shockwave. If you are extremely worried about his ability to walk forwards, or maybe when trying the fight you're just that unlucky, you can take a much more cautious approach to things here. You can dash away, get a single hit on him when he comes close, and repeat. Nothing wrong with prudence as long as you have the patience for it, but we don't suffer traitors here, so I say we dispatch him as fast as possible. Now since we have Cloth on our side, if you wanted, you could spend this whole fight basically just avoiding the Traitor Lord and letting Cloth do damage. I believe she does 15 per hit, which is very nice of her. So if things ever look dicey, you can remember to always fall back on her. Alright, our next foe is the Traitor Lord. And his arena is a little bit different, but in terms of his stats, there is nothing different about Attuned compared to his original fight. But we do have a much wider and taller arena to work with this time than... Oh shoot, there's Walking Forward coming into play. On Ascended, he now sports 1300 HP. Not too much difference, so I might as well point out one of the really cool details with this arena is he's got the Traitor's Child's grave down behind him, and if you did the Traitor Lord ending to Cloth's story, you can see her club has found its way into the memoriam of this arena, which is just a nice touch all around. Now, I don't have too much to offer in the way of Radiant advice. You can basically go about this fight in two ways. Either the fast, aggressive way, where you stay in his face and use some spells, and basically just accept the fact that maybe he'll end up doing a walking forward attack into you. Or you can play it a little safer, rely more on shadow dashes in order to dodge his attacks, and keep your distance if things ever feel a little cramped. I do recommend that if you are having some trouble differentiating between the telegraphs of his two main attacks, but if you're not, this fight is over rather quickly.
Alright, thanks for watching Boss Blitz. However, if you do not click the playlist on screen right now, I will consider you a traitor on the same level as the Mantis Lords. If you've already seen it though, we're cool. Next up is... oh no. Next up is Markov.